Guest today announcing his business is slashing its franchise fees by up to 85%, helping aspiring business owners hit by COVID try to get back on their feet. Jonathan Moody is from Physio Inc. and he's decided to flip the traditional franchising model on its head. Jonathan, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Obviously, the big question is for you, survival at a time like this, as for many business owners too, but you've decided to try a bit of a different tact.
Yeah, during the first shutdown, we had a bit of a mantra that we didn't want to leave anybody behind. Certainly internally with our staff, we had let's get everybody through it as a team, and we were largely successful in that. And then looking more broadly into the industry, across all private practitioners and all private clinics, our model was shown to be pretty resilient during the first shutdown, and so I'd like other business owners to be able to experience what that was like and get the same support and processes that led to us being able to get out of it, reasonably well.
You are, of course, an entrepreneur, and your message here is for other entrepreneurs. We have a lot of them who watch us here at Ticker. Talk to us about the journey with the low cost of entry.
Yeah, so I've always had this unwritten rule in our network that money will never be a barrier to a great human being a business leader in our network. And so if I've always had that as an unwritten rule, I thought, why not formalize it? And, there are people out there, there are great entrepreneurs, there are great intrapreneurs inside, even our business, where they may not have the funding or the capital to actually be able to invest and start up their own business, but they're the right human being as a leader. So you drop all of those costs, you try to blow out the traditional model, make it almost have $0 entry, and then you get the right people in the right place for the right reasons.
So talk to us, give us some insights into franchising at the moment, obviously trying to enable people to grow and to be great at business too. What do you look for when it comes to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur and someone who wants to get involved in a franchise? And is now the right time for people to be looking at it, given the uncertainty in the economy? What are your views?
Look, it's a great question. Healthcare has often been said that it's recession proof. During coronavirus, a lot of our clinics did have somewhat of a turn down. When it was reopened, we had a huge spike of initial patients that came through the system. So, with the downturn, we then had a serious uptick. Our second wave was a huge pent up demand for services out there in the community, both in people's homes as well as in the clinic. And so what we're looking for with entrepreneurs are people that have a servant mentality. We're looking in our franchisees, we want them to have a desire to serve their staff rather than be dictators. We'd like to have a really collaborative approach in the way that we manage our own company and our own clinics. And if you've got a servant mentality and all you want to do is grow human beings that can do an incredible job for the end consumer, then they're the right people to join our network.
And so what are the sorts of mistakes you see a lot of medical practitioners, we talk about physios and doctors, and then we go to others as well, like architects and accountants, they're all making when it comes to going into business at the moment as well? Because a lot of people are fantastic at what they do, but not necessarily fantastic at business.
Yeah, they're mostly good technicians, not tacticians. And
yeah.
It's the big mistake. If you think you're a great physio, great, but don't then buy yourself a job by, opening up a business and then thinking being a great physio is the way forward. You've got to be great at marketing, great at HR, great at leadership, great at communication, great at processes. You've got to be good at a broad base of things. And
also expect for it to all happen at once, right? Because you start a business and straight away you've got to be thinking about your marketing, you've got to think about your HR, as you mentioned. It's not necessarily a journey that plays out over time. It happens straight away the second you open those doors.
And generally, you've read a business book, you've read 300 pages, you think you've got it all nailed, and then all of a sudden you need to be the expert at all of those because everybody's looking towards you for help, and that can be really, really overwhelming. And then you start outsourcing and you start losing control because you haven't got the controls in place before you start outsourcing, and it spirals out of control because you're finding other people who you think are better qualified than you are, but you didn't have the controls in place to be able to measure and monitor it. So it's a really difficult phase.
Also, I guess the biggest issue there as well is that growth phase too, where you have someone who's fantastic at what they've done. You talk about an accountant or some medical practitioner who might have been a great physio or a great doctor, goes out to do it on their own, but finds that they're essentially the star in their business. They can't get
Yeah.
off the tools to run the business because the
Yeah.
people they've brought in can't do the job.
That's it. And usually it's a case of that they haven't documented what they do well in the first place. They haven't articulated to themselves why is it that they're a great practitioner. How are they getting these great results? How are they designing an amazing house? So you've got to map out what it is technically, and then try to find measures that you can put in place to monitor other people that come into a role against.
It's attention to detail, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing that you, as well as running a franchise, would have, that you would always be worried that the people that you hand the keys to your brand are perhaps not as attentive to details as you are. What's your advice in terms of dealing with that?
So no one will ever act like an owner that's working for you, because they're not. Employees will never do the same job as an owner, because they can't be expected to.
No.
And so as an owner, allow a certain level of mistake, allow a certain level of error, and understand that people learn at different rates, and people will be superstars straight off the bat. Other people will take a year or two to really hit their straps. Just be comfortable and be patient with that process of people getting up to where that benchmark is.
Jonathan Moody, fantastic advice. How can we find you?
You can find us at physioinq.com.au and always on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Talk to you again soon. Thanks, mate.
Great. Thanks, Ahron. Thanks for having me.